Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to reading lesson 13 for Fantastic Mr. Fox. Goodness me, we're really getting through this book now. In the last chapter, do you remember what had happened? The foxes had run into Badger, and Small Badger as well, his son. And Badger was telling Mr. Fox that all the animals around the hill were surrounded because all the farmers' volunteers had gone round the hill and none of them could get out. So it wasn't just the foxes who were starving. It was all the animals underneath the ground. I need to cough. Oh dear, sorry. Right, I'll try not to do that too much. So, chapter 13, we're moving on to. Badger is now helping the foxes dig another tunnel. We'll see where they're going. Sit back, relax. This is quite a long chapter too, and I have to say, it's a really, really fun task. My dear Foxy, cried Badger, what in the world has happened to your tail? Oh, don't talk about it, please, said Mr. Fox. It's a painful subject. They were digging the new tunnel. They dug on in silence. Badger was a great digger, and the tunnel went forward at a terrific pace now that he was lending a paw. Like lending a hand, but lending a paw is a good one, eh? Soon they were crouching underneath yet another wooden floor. Mr. Fox grinned slyly, showing his sharp white teeth. If I am not mistaken, my dear Badger, he said, we are now underneath the farm which belongs to that nasty little pot-bellied dwarf, Bunce. We are, in fact, directly underneath the most interesting part of that farm. Ducks and geese, cried the small foxes, licking their lips. Juicy, tender ducks and big, fat geese. Exactly, said Mr. Fox. But how in the world can you know where we are? Asked Badger. Exactly. Mr. Fox grinned again, showing even more white teeth. Look, he said, I know my way around these farms blindfold. For me, it's just as easy below ground as it is above. He reached high and pushed up one wooden floorboard, then another. Then he poked his head through the gap. Yes, he shouted, jumping up in the room above. I've done it again. I've hit it smack on the nose, right in the bullseye. Come and look. Quickly, Badger and the three small foxes scrambled up after him. They stopped and stared. They stood and gaped. They were so overwhelmed they couldn't speak. For what they saw now was a kind of fox's dream, a badger's dream, a paradise for hungry animals. This, my dear old Badger, proclaimed Mr. Fox, is Bunce's mighty storehouse, and all his finest stuff is stored in here before he sends it off to market. Against all the four walls of the great room, stacked in cupboards and piled upon shelves reaching from floor to ceiling, were thousands and thousands of the finest and fattest ducks and geese, plucked and ready for roasting, and up above, dangling from the rafters, there must have been at least 100 smoked hams and 50 sides of bacon. Just feast your eyes on that, cried Mr. Fox, dancing up and down. What do you think of that, eh? Pretty good grub. Suddenly, as though springs had been released in their legs, the three hungry small foxes and the ravenously hungry Badger sprang forward to grab the luscious food. Stop, ordered Mr. Fox. This is my party, so I shall do the choosing. The others fell back, licking their chops. Mr. Fox began prowling around the storehouse, examining the glorious display with an expert eye. A thread of saliva slid down one of his jaw and hung suspended in midair. Then snapped. We mustn't overdo it, he said. We mustn't give the game away, mustn't let them know what we've been up to. We must be neat and tidy and just take a few of the choicest morsels. So, to start with, we shall have 4 plump young ducks. He took them from the shelf. Oh, how lovely and fat they are. No wonder Bunce gets a special price for them in the market. All right, Badger, lend me your hand to get them down. You children can help as well. There we go. Goodness me. Look how your mouths are watering. And now, I think we had better have a few geese. Yeah, 3 will be quite enough. We'll take the biggest. Oh my, you'll never seen finer geese than these in a king's kitchen. Gently does it. That's the way. And what about a couple of nice smoked hams? I adore smoked ham, don't you, Badger? Fetch me the stepladder, will you please? That's an interesting. I just want to pause dead quick. That's an interesting paragraph there, isn't it? There's lots of dots. Now, when you look at those dots, how many are there? Three dots. Dot, dot, dot. It's known as ellipsis. That's what we call that, ellipsis. Sometimes it comes at the end of the line, like they drove towards the cliff face. Dot, dot, dot. And I like to think of it as dun, dun, dun. It's when you don't quite finish a sentence and it leaves the reader having to guess what might happen next. It builds suspense. It gets you excited. Suddenly there was a large bang. Dun, dun, dun. So that's what ellipsis is usually used for. Roald Dahl has used it a little differently, though, in this paragraph here. How's he used it? What do you think? What's going on? And Mr. Fox is having a wee discussion here, isn't he? And it's all kind of like his thoughts. He's kind of talking to the foxes and Badger. He's kind of talking to himself, isn't he? Oh, there's 3 blind ducks. Give me the ladder. Yep, thanks. Oh, maybe we could have those geese as well. Right, careful. Slow down. Oh, what about those? So it's to show that Mr. Fox is like in the zone. He's phased out. He's in his own wee world. And there's lots of action going on around him. And that's what those wee dots, those ellipses, are there to show. Anyway, let's keep moving. Mr. Fox climbed up the ladder and handed down 3 magnificent hams. And do you like bacon, Badger? Oh, I'm mad about bacon, cried Badger, dancing with excitement. Let's have a side of bacon. That big one up there. And carrots, Dad, said the smallest of the 3 small foxes. We must take some of those carrots. Don't be a twerp, said Mr. Fox. You know we never eat things like that. It's not for us, Dad. It's for the rabbits. They only eat vegetables. Oh, my goodness me, you're right, cried Mr. Fox. What a thoughtful little fellow you are. Take 10 bunches of carrots. Soon, all this lovely loot was lying in a neat heap upon the floor. The small foxes crouched close, their noses twitching, their eyes shining like stars. Like my little puppy when he wants a treat, and I'm thinking, and now, said Mr. Fox, we shall have to borrow from our friend Buns 2 of those useful push carts over in the corner. He and Badger fetched the push carts. The ducks and the geese, the hams and the bacon were loaded onto them. Quickly, the push carts were lowered through the hole in the floor. The animals slid down after them. Back in the tunnel, Mr. Fox again pulled the floorboards very carefully into place so that no one could see they had been moved. My darlings, he said, pointing to 2 of the 3 small foxes, take a cart each and run back as fast as you can to Mother. Give her my love and tell her we are having guests for dinner. The badgers, the moles, the rabbits, and the weasels. Tell her it must be a truly great feast, and tell her the rest of us will be home as soon as we've done one more little job. Yes, Dad, right away, Dad, they answered, and they grabbed a trolley each and went rushing off down the tunnel. That was a long chapter. It was a very long chapter. Now, for this task, we've done a lot of kind of writing tasks, quite writing intensive recently, so I thought, let's do a fun one. At this point in the chapter, I think it's a good idea to think about setting, the setting of the story. Now, when we talk about the setting, what that means is where the story takes place. Does it take place in a circus, in a swimming pool, in a market, in a zoo, in Africa, in America, in India? The setting of the story. And you see here, I've got lots of different pictures showing the setting of the story. They're showing a map. Some of them are showing the map of the tunnels to the farms where the foxes have been. Some of them are showing from above where the farms are, where the tree is. Somebody's created it with Lego. Someone's created the setting with Minecraft. I guess you could do it with Roblox too, or lots of other things. Lots of other titles are available. That's what we should say. Yeah. And so your task today is to create a map to show the world of Fantastic Mr. Fox. And what we're learning to do when we're doing this, we're considering the setting in Fantastic Mr. Fox. We're thinking about where the story takes place, the setting. So you're to create a map. Now, when we think about success criteria, you can draw or build it however you wish. If you want to use Minecraft, I'd love that. if you've got that to you. If not, if you want to use Lego, go for it. If you want to make it out of other blocks, out of other things you've got in the house, yeah, fire away. If you want to draw it, excellent. If you want to act it out, oh, amazing. You want to dance it, that's fine with me. Draw or build or show however you wish the setting of Fantastic Mr. Fox. Now there's two things I'd like. I'd like you to include the main locations in the story. So you have to think, where have we been? Obviously Mr. and Mrs. Fox and the foxes live underneath a tree on a hill. In the valley, 3 farms. The tunnels, where have they gone so far? Whose farms have they visited? Was it Bogus? Was it Buns? Was it Bean? Where have they been? Bean and Bean. That's all what I did there, sorry. And finally, a wee optional piece of success criteria would be to label the main plot points. What's the plot? The plot is the story. Okay, so label the main story points. Where on your map did Mr. Fox meet Badger? Where on your map are Bun, Speed and Bogus hiding out? Where is the tree on the hill? Label the main plot points. Where did they dig to? Where did the diggers come? All these things. That would be amazing. So, learning to consider the setting in the story, your task is to create a map. You can do it however you so wish, but I'd like the main locations in the story to be there, and if you could label the main plot points somehow, that would be amazing. I just thought as well, if you're in my class, you could download Bloxels if you haven't already. I know some of us have. You can make it on Bloxels. Try that. Good luck, guys. I cannot wait to see what you come up with. And moving on to chapter 14 next. 14 is my lucky number. So, hope to see you there. Bye-bye.